Alright guys, so today I'm here to show you a basic generic Couta Trace or king mackerel. In Australia, in the South Pacific, where I've been catching there is called a walu or a Spanish mackerel. Definitely a different species, but this is a South African take on a trace. I'm going to tie a simple trace I've been using for the last 20 years. It's not necessarily kayak specific. I use exactly the same trace when I'm fishing offshore on the boat. Because at the end of the day we are catching the same fish. So yeah, a few things have changed over the years and a few improvements, but I'm gonna just show you the basic stock standard, but there is no rules, hard fast rules of what you can or can't do, but just a couple of little things that I do personally, and I've had great success over the years using this trace to catch not only Couta or king mackerel, but sailfish, yellowfin tuna, queen mackerel or snook. Just trying to think what are the other things I've caught on these traces. But this is also a trace that you slow trawl, so it's not for speed trawling. You want to keep the trace kind of moving. You want to keep the bait kind of moving. You don't want it to be completely stagnant. If there's more current, you've obviously got to fish it slower, but generally anywhere between 2 and 4 kilometers per hour, and that's water speed. That's not necessarily your actual speed on your GPS. So that's something you need to consider. Is you got to fish this trace nice and slow. First of all, I'll talk about the wire. Wires rating, American fishing wire. Number 5 is kind of right there in the middle. I've caught my 2 biggest king mackerel Couta on number 5 wire. Some stages I do step up and I'll fish 6 or 7, but again, as I said, my 2 biggest fish I've caught is on number 5. So number 5 or number 6 is kind of where I would go. This is more a standard trace. I'm not doing anything specific here. So this is number 5 wire. It's just out of the packaging. So my lead wire. Okay, length is everything. So this is my bait I'm going to be using. I'm going 1.5 times the length of the bait. So, and why I do that is if the fish eats up the trace and the bait completely folds up when the fish hits the bait, you're not necessarily going to get bitten off. Sometimes you do, but I find if you go, you've got to go at least longer than the bait. I go 1.5 times the length of the bait. And then what I do is I do a haywire twist. It's on the back of the packaging. But to do that, to create a loop, you can use certain things. This is just an old drill bit. You can use a fly tying bobbin. You can use a nail. You can use a rivet, works pretty well. But the key is to give yourself enough space to actually tie the haywire twist. So I bend it around there, and that makes a nice little perfect little loop. Okay. It doesn't matter what order you go in. When I'm doing like production line here and I'm making a few traces, I'll rig all the lead wires, then I'll rig all the treble snoots, and then I'll add them all together. But I'm just making one trace here, so I'm not necessarily going in any particular order. So one of the things that's changed over the years is these chin weights. This is a banana chin weight by Pulsator, and Kingfisher's brought out this cool one that's got like a little pink glow. It comes in different colors. The Kingfisher one has definitely got a stronger hook on it. It's rigged with a hoodlum. But again, this doesn't worry me too much because this is not where I'm fighting the fish from this hook. I mean, it's just to hold the bait in place. I feel you normally fighting the fish off of the treble, not off of the chin weight. So yeah, those are the 2 different kinds. And then as opposed to the weight. I think these are halves or 3/4. These are ½ ounces. You know, this is perfect for this size bait. If you're going to use something like a bonnie or a bigger bait, you might want to go up to a 1 ounce, even a 2 ounce, a 3 ounce. And you can pull faster baits and bigger baits with bigger chin weights. But generally, for standard mackerel, slimy mackerel, you're going to look at a 3/4 or a ½ ounce chin weight is what you would use. So this is one thing that's, I'd say, has improved this trace over the years from where we started, is these chin weights. Are definitely a winner. So I'm going to put the loop through the chin weight. and then I grab it with the pliers and just hold it nice and neatly. Okay, so now this is where the first mistake is, where guys, especially newbies, making this trace go. The most important part is the 45 degrees. Not to turn the one wire around the other because it'll slip closed. You must turn them evenly, 45 degrees. So I'm going 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 full revolutions, 45 degrees. So when you pull, that loop is not going to close now. So when you're fighting the fish and you're putting pressure from this side, the 45 stop it from the haywire twist from closing. And then to finish it off, I turn the piece that I'm actually going to be cutting off, breaking off, 90 degrees to the lead wire. And again, I do 3 full revolutions, making it nice and tight. Okay, and then you break it off. Now that's for another video for another time. But yeah, basically it's on the back of the packaging here. 3 45s, I know this one shows more, and then 3 90s. Sometimes less is more, but yeah, that's what we do there. And then again, you can put a duster. I mean, some of the best Couta fishermen I know, if they've got fresh bait, they don't even put a duster. Pink, pearl, blue, those are my favorites. My always go-to is obviously this pink, this light pink. I'm just going to put a pearl duster on today. Definitely from spearfishing, Couta like shiny stuff, so I'm very pro putting a duster on the front of the bait, especially if you don't have the freshest bait in the world. It can definitely help. And then also if the water's a little bit off color, having a duster on the front there I think adds to the appeal of the bait and flash, and just draws the fish in from a long way. Okay, next I'm using power swirls, number 5 or number 6. That's basically what I use for standard for everything. Whether it's my live bait traces, my circle hooks with fluorocarbon, or rigging my Couta traces or snook traces, I normally use a number 5 power swirl. I'm going to finish that off on the end. Exactly the same as what I did. Going to bend it around the bobbin, giving myself enough space to finish off the knot. Put the power swirl through. Grab the loop with the pliers just to hold it steady so I can get the twists nice and even. 1, 2, 3, then straight into my 90. 1, 2, 3. I bend it back like that, 90 degrees, twist and it snaps. So that's my lead wire. As I said, from the swivel to the tail, it's 1.5 times the bait. That's stock standard. So the fish eats up the bait and the wire folds back. You can get bitten off, but I find that's enough 99% of the time. Okay, then the next thing is I'm going to make my hook snoot. Same thing. Now here's a trick that saved me a lot of hassle over the years. Is a Couta's mouth is about as wide as your hand. Okay, so if I've got a small little red eye, I only need 1 treble. If I've got a walla walla that's that long, I'll space the trebles, 1 treble every hand width. Like that's kind of what I do. So if you bite it there, or bite it there, if I've got a treble there and there, for this size baits I'm going to use 2 trebles. If you bite it there, I shouldn't miss it. I mean, it does happen, but you shouldn't miss it. So what I'm going to do is I work in thirds. So my first, I've got a hook there. 2/3 of the way down is going to be my first treble, and then another third. So it's going to be 2/3 and then 1/3 of the entire length. Just because they normally either bite just behind the gill plate or nip the tail. So I prefer the 2 trebles further back than just directly behind the gills. That's my spacing on a trace. So I'm going to cut the wire. And then as far as treble sizes go, these are size 4. Size 4 in 3 extra strong to 6 extra strong. It's your choice. I personally am happy with a 3 or 4 extra strong. I don't necessarily reuse the hooks. You know, if you go 6 extra strong, you can cut the trace and you can reuse the hooks again. I'm a strong believer in, once I've caught a fish on that trace, I don't reuse the hooks again. So these are size 2. So like as I said, you can go up in size if the bait is bigger, like a bonito or walla walla, and you can go down in size if you're fishing with like a red eye or small mackerel. These are size 4s, these are VMCs. These are mustards, ultra points. I'm a big fan of these things. They're super strong, super sharp, and you don't miss many fish. Same thing, I'm just gonna make the loop with the bobbin. But as I said, there's lots of brands of hooks out there. Anything from a 3 extra strong to a 6 extra strong is perfect. Made the loop there. I'm just repeating, I'm just going faster and faster now. 3 turns, into the 90, 3 turns. 3 turns is the minimum I would do, not the maximum. Okay, and then as I said, it's going to be, it helps to have a bait out here so you can measure it exactly for the first time. And then from there you can adjust accordingly. So I've kind of marked where I want it. The other trick is, these are not welded loops. So you got to go through the eye of the hook and the lead wire so it doesn't pull through. It does happen, not often. My spacing's about right. I'm not using the bobbin this time, and I'm doing it freehand. When you've done enough of these, you can do it freehand. But I would recommend using a bobbin and a pair of pliers starting out with. So there we go, we got the first treble snoot. See, it's about 2/3 of the way down, and I'm going to put another one short just behind it. This is also a change to my original trace, is I used to tie it off 2 different snoots. Now I just tie it inline. It's just faster making traces, and it definitely looks a little bit more scallum, you know, like a little bit more sneaky and a little bit more neat if it's all inline. Disadvantage is that you could end up breaking the trebles between the hooks, but again, it's not really, it doesn't happen often. There we go, so that's my back treble, and I'm just going to loop it through the other treble here. And there's the trace complete. Size 2 this mackerel. So then when you're rigging it to fish it, so I come in through the bottom of the chin, and you want to come right out the center, not offset. And then I lie the trace, and I make sure that I'm not kinking the bait so it looks like a banana. And you can either go down the side, down the back, or in the belly. Put one hook in, second hook in. And then you can see that is going to swim beautifully straight. And that's it. There's a Couta trace. As I said, same thing, you're talking about sizing. 1.5 times the bait length to the swivel. And then that you tie directly onto your leader or onto your main line, however you wish to fish. And honestly, that is stock standard. I've been using this for the last 20 plus years, and I've caught a lot of fish on this rig. And if you stick to these basics, you'll catch fish. It's a standard
Dead bait trace.
Dead bait Couta Trace, yeah. Couta or king mackerel trace.
Okay, so for when you make your standard dead bait trace, your lead wire,
Yes.
whether it be a mackerel or red eye, do you keep it the same length?
No. So what I do is I go 1.5 times the bait length. So
But why?
if the fish eats up the bait
Yeah.
and he comes snapping and this folds back, I want it to be longer than the bait.
So the chance of getting
whether
the chance of
that
getting bitten off above the swivel is slightly less. Put it that
is
way.
less if it's 1.5.
And if you make it longer, is it irrelevant or not really?
Not necessarily. I just think it's a little bit more finesse if you make it shorter. Yeah, as I say, it works for me. That's kind of my stock standard. I mean, I have experimented with shorter lead wires, and they have ended badly. So generally 1.5 times the bait length or longer.
Okay. So like a wallah, you would have quite a long lead wire.
No, not necessarily, because the trace is long. So about 30 centimeters is kind of what I do. On a bonnie, it'll be a bit longer.
Like a small red eye. Maybe you're fishing with a small red eye.
Yeah,
Shorter
small
lead
red eye,
wire.
because also you might be targeting snook, and you don't necessarily need a longer lead wire. But I think the whole purpose of this trace is to show you a standard. You know, once the guys
I mean, you
stick
can,
to the standard, then you can start experimenting.
exactly. You can chop and
start,
change
start chopping and
and then
change.
like I guess so you like I've mentioned this before, but in other videos and things like oaks have their like go-to colors.
Absolutely. So
like if you had a color today and you were
pink. This pink.
That
It's
pink.
not necessarily this specific.
it's like a pinky pearl or what?
Yeah, a pinky pearl. This is your go-to color. Again, you don't have to put a
Everyone
duster on
likes a
there.
little bit of pink.
Yeah, you don't have to put a duster on there.
Yeah.
I know a lot of especially guys like Cole Sloms, he catches a lot of Couta. He insists that if his bait is fresh
No
and the
duster.
water's super clean, then no duster. It looks more natural,
Okay.
and that makes perfect sense. Just from a spearfishing point of view, Coutas, they get mesmerized by flashy stuff. So
yeah. I mean, you put a flasher when you spearfishing.
100%.
So-
So I think a duster makes a difference. It brings fish in from further.
Okay.
It just draws attention to the bait faster. Especially
Maybe-
if the water's a little bit off color.
Maybe fish one with a duster, one without.
You can
Get the duster
You
to bring
can,
the flash.
absolutely.
Maybe I don't know. Everyone's got their different ideas.
But,
I was talking about the one time when we were at Pondon when we just couldn't get a pull, but there was just fish on the finder, and we took our dusters off and we got bite. So like, if
There
the
we
fish
go.
are in the area, I don't know. You never know, right?
that's exactly it.
And a bait swimmer. Okay,
Yeah.
you're going to use this bait swimmer, right?
Yeah, I
Obviously, some acts, I like to dangle a little sinker from the front hook for various reasons. I think maybe it's just habit.
No, that's how we did it
but-
back in the day. You know, like I've
Back in
made
the
these
day,
traces.
What are you saying? I'm old now.
I said.
Okay. Team habit.
So yeah, basically, I've done these traces before on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is my improvements over the years.
Okay.
You know, I think these pulsator. This is the pulsator one, and this is the new Kingfisher one. Definitely a game changer. It's just simplified it. It's easy. It's an all-in-one package. You know, this one's got a hoodlum hook, and the guys are saying, but it's not as strong as it's not. This is a Kendall hook as opposed to a hoodlum hook. It's not as strong. But for me, this is just to anchor the bait. It's not.
Say,
It's not
I mean, how many
necessary to
times?
fight
Okay,
the
yes, you
fish
do
bite.
hook Couta with that, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, it can save you. So, I mean, it's just personal preference, yeah. I mean, it's very nice with the UV paint and the hoodlum hook, for sure. But I don't believe it's necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a price point between the two.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the other major improvement that I've done, or difference that I did from my previous, is I'm actually joining them in line. I normally used to have two different
I
snoots
remember
coming off.
we often used to do it like that.
You know,
And you're in line for.
it's just quicker making the traces.
Yeah.
I
suppose you can take a red eye trace and add a single and
Or-
add another treble on the back, and
or-
off you go.
You can cut it and shorten it.
Yes, that's
You
what I
know,
mean.
to adjust it to a different trace. You know, you have a pair of pliers, you just cut the back treble off, and now all of a sudden you've got a red eye.
Yeah.
Or a sard rig with one hook. And then the spacing is, I mean, you've seen it, Brett. Where does the Couta chop your bait?
Yeah.
Behind the gill.
No,
So-
between the hooks.
between the hooks. But generally behind the hook, behind the gills, or further back.
Yeah.
So I don't find there's a point in really having the hook directly behind the gill plate.
Yeah.
I go
A little bit further.
2/3, 1/3, and then 2/3 to the lead hook.
Okay.
I find two hooks placed further back on the bait definitely get a better hookup on the strike.
Yeah.
Going down the belly, I think the fish feed up generally.
Okay.
So they're gonna get pricked. More so when you rig it along the belly, but you can go down the back too.
Yeah.
The back is, if you put a black hook in the back, it's a little bit, you
can hide it.
You can hide it a bit better.
Yeah.
You can put a chrome or silver
and the
hook in
size of
there.
the hook. So like you've made a mackerel, so that's a size. What did you say?
That's size 4.
And
Fours.
Both 4s, eh?
Yeah, both 4s. Yeah.
And you'll stick to size 4s on the mackerel.
Yeah, these are size 2s. You can use 2s on like a Walla.
Bonnie.
Or on a Bonnie. You can even go up even bigger. I've used 1-0s on mackerel.
And the reason I'm asking about the size is because I know like when we used to target the greater barracuda. Okay.
Yeah. Put lots of
Okay. Yeah. We're not really fishing for a dead bait with a greater, but we found with a greater barracuda,
Yeah.
you had to fish with the big hooks, like exactly like you say, 1-0.
Yeah.
If you didn't fish with the 1-0,
You
you just couldn't. You'd hook them and not land them.
Yeah.
So that's why I ask hook size. And I mean, if you were fishing red eye, would you go any smaller?
No, not necessarily. If anything, if I'm putting one treble, I might go one size up.
Okay.
But it also comes down to fishing sneaky and fishing how many hooks. Here I've got 6 points because I've got 3. 6 points is better than 3.
Yeah.
To hook a fish. But again, a big fish is the fish that we miss, or like snap. It's normally a small fish.
I know.
The big fish you don't miss.
It's a shell Couta.
Yeah.
He's eating char like.
And you never miss a shark. He sticks to the trace every time.
Every time a coconut. That's a true story. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a basic. This is what's available. This is the way fishing has evolved.
You can talk about any trace for ages. I mean, everyone's got their theory. If you put Scott there and you put Julian there and
Absolutely.
you put Carl there and Rob there, and everyone's going to go, and I do this and I do that. So I think it's always what works for you. But if you get the basics right,
I can say another common denominator with everyone that catches a lot of fish and makes a good trace is their bait. When it's rigged, swim straight. It doesn't spin. Doesn't matter if it's got a little bit of roll.
Yeah.
But you don't want it to propel in the water.
Yeah.
It looks unnatural.
And sometimes that's freaking hard to do when the current's winding it too.
And the reason your bait would spin is you're using the incorrect size chin weight.
Yeah.
Or you've been lazy when you've rigged it so banana, so it's all kinked.
Yeah. It hasn't defrosted enough yet, and you just
you
put a hook in and expect it to.
Or you're paddling or trawling too fast.
Yeah.
You need to slow down to, you can put the bait in the water next to your kayak or next to the boat.
When you say slow down, you're talking about Rob Waite's speed.
Yeah.
Just as that man can put it.
Well, I did say on the video, like the speed is between 2.5 and 4 kilometers per hour. That's water speed.
Yeah.
That's not
current,
not your GPS actual land speed.
You got to worry about current. You got to worry about.
So if there's more current, you got to slow down.
Okay.
You can pull baits faster, but then you use bigger chin weights.
Yeah.
But then if you slow down, the bait starts doing this. So
the bait sinks too much, and you get reef, or you get reef fish.
True, but I mean, the way we fish in a kayak, specifically for a kayak, you want to use lighter chin weights and fish slower.
Yes.
On the boat, you can be restricted with the boats just in gear, and that's the speed.
It's like a jet ski. It's got no speed, and then that's the speed. There's nothing in between.
There's no in between. So you probably need to fish a bigger chin weight if you fish, especially on a jet ski. I mean, that thing idles at 6-7 k's an hour.
Yeah.
And that's like limiting for some guys paddling.
Yeah. So true story. Yeah. And then thickness of the wire.
Yeah. So the wire, that's number 5.
Yeah.
5, 6 is.
So your lead wire. You said.
I'd use 5 right through.
5 through.
You can put 6 or 7 between the hooks, and you can use 5 up front. My 2 biggest Couta King mackerel that I've caught have both been on number 5.
Okay.
There's a never-ending debate as to what wire. The guys say the heavier wire can kink off easier.
Yeah.
The thinner wire fits between the teeth.
Yeah.
5, 6 is kind of what I go with. I'll go down to 4, 3. But that's more on live bait, and that's another topic altogether.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I suppose, like you say, bait presentation is a big part of it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've seen it too many times, and it doesn't defrost his mackerel or doesn't even check to see if it's swimming straight.
That's it. Yeah.
I've been guilty of that.
And I found that as well. Sometimes you'll put a frozen bait on, And you'll paddle it for a bit, and you'll be like, oh, I wonder why I haven't got bite. And you wind it, and the thing's and you actually you might need to just pull the hook out and just reposition it and check your bait, and then that's all it needed to, and then you'll.
Yeah. I think
I do that.
One of the most valuable things that Brad taught me, I mean, way back in when we were fiddling around with baits, was he says it doesn't take you 2 seconds to put your bait there and just pull it past you.
Pull it next to your kayak.
Pull it past you and watch it, but pull it slowly. You know, I don't go wow too fast. Like just put it slowly and check out how it goes. And
then the other thing is what I see guys do is they'll put their bait on and they'll throw it, and then the hooks are there. It comes.
I do that a live bait to see how far I can throw them.
I'm guilty of that as well. I kind of trust my trace. I like cast my bait, put it right on it. But that can also throw your bait off for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, everyone's got different ideas where to put the hooks, what size, how to do the wire, but I think you've covered properly.
That's it. If you stick to those basics, you'll be good.
Okay.
You'll catch fish.
Well, we hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so next, what do you make next?
A
live bait.
Live bait with fluorocarbon.
Live bait with fluorocarbon.
Let's do that.
Now I'm going to learn something.